Greg Vanney.
Greg Vanney.
Hi.
All right, well, let's start with the obvious question. It's a rivalry game, and that's a huge thing, but this is a different stage.
Yeah, I think it's exciting for the game. It's exciting for the city. I think it's exciting for the rivalry long term. I think when these knockout rounds or these games that are really meaningful, and they always add to the narrative of the rivalry. So one team's going to come out on top tomorrow, and one team will have an edge. And when it comes to that playoff side and getting to the next round and next level, so it's exciting. I think again it just adds more to the story that is ever building between LAFC and the Galaxy.
What's the challenge that you face, especially against that front six, and the different options that they have, especially up front?
Yeah, I mean, a big part of it's just the quality that they have. There's guys that with not a lot of space, with not a lot of opportunities, who can make you pay, and so you have to really limit any mistakes and errors. You got to be tight defensively. You got to manage the transitions. You've got to be careful with the ball because they can hurt you in transition. So there's a number of things that you have to be on. We have to also punish them. We have to hurt them. We have to make them defend. Make the guys who are looking for transition moments actually have to defend deeper in their half of the field at times, and have to be preoccupied sometimes with dealing with us, so that they don't get to just wait and try to punish us on the other side. So I'm sure it'll be a tactical matchup. They have clever players, and they have good players, and same for us. So it should be really interesting.
The two players who seem to be real key in that whole thing is Raheem and Julian, and the balance between them going forward and helping that attack and dealing with their flank play.
Yeah, for sure. That's I think how we rest when we do have possession, especially in their half of the field, how we finish our attacks, the relationship between Ra and Jules, making sure they're not both into the attack at the same time, making sure that we're covering underneath it. Again, it's going to be discipline. Some of it's about discipline. Some of it's just about being responsible in moments and using all your resources in the transition that you have to deal with situations, but also making sure collectively we defend together as a group. When we reorganize, we all get under the ball and we reorganize. So it's you got to play every phase of the game when it gets to this time of year and when you play other top teams. So,
did you guys struggle with that discipline the last time you played over there?
There?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, last time we played them there, we went with two straight up forwards, which meant we were one less in the midfield at times. I think that at times allowed us to not be as connected in the midfield. We didn't control the midfield as much as I would have liked to, but that was just an example of that. But we did create some attacking moments from that situation. So I think it'll be a different scenario tomorrow, because just both teams have different pieces. Both teams are a little bit different than they were the last time we played, which was a few months ago now. So, but we need to manage the transition moments for sure. That's going to be important.
As we've been out at LAFC training yesterday and talking with players today, they were quick in saying this is the best rivalry in MLS. As someone who's experienced a few of these at Toronto as well, and Montreal, it's a big one. Do you agree with that statement, and what's your perspective on the magnitude of what this represents for MLS, not just here in this country, but a global product of what El Trapo can be?
Yeah, look, I certainly think it has the opportunity to be that. I think more games like this tomorrow are going to, again, continue to build the narrative as both teams continue to, and obviously the Galaxy's past success, but continue to become successful as LAFC continues to do well in the league, and both teams are playing at a high standard. This rivalry becomes bigger and bigger, especially the proximity of the two teams. The fan bases are right there, intermingled amongst each other. That's one of the things. Obviously the Toronto-Montreal is big because you get inside of a country, almost two distinct countries who have a long history of sports rivalries and past. So that was a good one at the time, and both teams were very good at that time. But this has every possibility to eclipse that, especially with the level of the two clubs and the names on the rosters of both teams. And the possibilities that exist within this rivalry.
What's your memory of that 2019 Old Trafford playoff? Of course, you weren't here, but you were part of your own MLS Cup run in Toronto at the time, if I'm not mistaken. But how did you witness that, or just kind of general buzz in the league at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I watched it again from afar, and again, it was exciting. Again, it's one of those moments when you play in these games that matter. It was a very good LAFC team against a team from the Galaxy that obviously had a big piece, but was very well organized defensively and always had a chance with Zlatan on the field. So it made for just an interesting matchup, you know. So it's a good game, and again, that was the first of a playoff games between the two clubs. So it started off what I think again is going to be a great history between these two clubs in big matches, because these games are just the beginning of where this rivalry is going to continue to go to.
How have you seen the players, especially now in playoffs? You mentioned history, fighting that and kind of confronting that for the Galaxy as a club. I remember back in your intro interviews here at the club, you talked about kind of getting back to those days. Have you seen that starting to go in the right direction? And what's your perspective on it? Let's call it a big picture point of view of what the Galaxy are.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of it is the addition of players who have played in the big stage, who have dealt with pressure, who have been in games where they do feel pressure and the moments that really matter. It's having some of that. It's the growth of some of our younger players into the scenario, and also learning from those guys who've been in big situations on how to conduct themselves, how to be ready, how to be still courageous in the moments and not be afraid of the big moments. So I can feel all of that within this group. It's a more mature, from a competitive standpoint, it's a more mature group than we were even just a few months ago with the additions of Martin, Ricky, and Gaston. That adds a lot of just competitive maturity, high-level experience. So the group has grown in that way, and I think they embrace the responsibility to try to continue to push this club back to where it should be. And I think a lot of that just comes with personality, character, experience, those kinds of things.
This group is better defensively than that 2019 group.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, this is a better team than that one. It's not for me to really say, but I will say we have certainly more going for us than that group. So we'll make for a really exciting game tomorrow. It's two teams that can really attack. It's two teams who can be stingy defensively, but can attack and can hurt you at any moment of the game and any phase of the game.
They're better defensively than 2019 too.
Sure, for sure. The teams are better. The teams are better. Also. Yeah, just in general, everybody's moved forward a little bit from where we were at that point.
You look at the back line, Sega's sort of like been your anchor there. He's played with, I think, Derek, Nick, Eric, and Martin.
Yeah.
What have you seen out of him this year that maybe you didn't see last year?
Consistency, when we brought him in, we really liked his concentration, his level of focus, his sharpness, the way he moves. His capacity to cover in situations. Obviously, his athleticism is nice when things break down. He can cover some situations that others can't sometimes. But I think just consistently, he's more settled. He understands the league better. He's understanding each game a little better, and the players he's playing against. He's getting more comfortable with the people around him, and also just his communication. So for me, the center back position is 100% about just consistency and. Nothing over the top special, but just be consistent every single game and be connected to your group. And he's been that, and he's sharp, and he's a competitor. He's a fighter, so that adds a little bit of toughness to our group too.
Rick, is there like an extra pressure for teams to win the Supporter Shield, to win the MLS Cup? I mean, only 27% have achieved that, and you were the last one to do it.
Yeah, it is. It's different. Winning in the season is a little bit different than winning in a knockout, tournament, and so. That comes with sometimes the pressure of expectation. It can be, you have to win a series of games at home, which sometimes isn't always easy. Maybe it sounds like it, but there's sometimes a little bit more pressure to perform and to get results at home. But it's not an easy thing to come up with. Obviously, as you see, the stats have said it. And you got to win games in many ways. I'll tell you, the team that did it in 2017, we were a high-powered attacking team, but we defended our way to the final game, and then we attacked our way to the championship. But we went through red cards in that series. We went through a lot of different things over the course of the games. There were more games then because there were 2-game series, but yeah, there can be more pressure, and again, the circumstances to winning knockout games aren't always the same as winning, just regular season games. So it's we'll see. It's for us to put the pressure on them tomorrow and see if if they can handle it.
Is it an advantage for you guys to have the rhythm of having played already versus the layoff? There's been so many teams that are 1 seeds who've struggled with the playoffs, and I don't know if that's an advantage or do you agree with that at all?
Yeah, I think that can go either way. They could see themselves as a team that's rested, and they could be rested, and we played 1 extra game, which could come with knocks and dings and different things like that. But we have felt the playoff intensity here in this last week, and we have a sense for our guys who don't have a ton of playoff experience, even though they have big game experience. We've now felt kind of what that is like, which is, I think, a positive thing. And we've had a reasonable amount of time to recover and get ourselves ready for the next one. So I don't know who it favors, but it certainly can. If they come out lethargic or a little bit off of it a little bit, it can prove to be in our favor. We'll see.
What gives Martin the advantage over Derek in terms of being in the starting line?
Yeah, I think Martin's addition to our group has just given us a lot of composure in the back. One of the things I talked about in the middle of the season is sometimes we would compound mistakes, and it's not to say it was Derek or any one in particular. It was just one mistake, and then we wouldn't deal with that mistake appropriately. We would commit another mistake, and I just feel like Martin's experience, his understanding, again, I used the term earlier, but all of his resources defensively to deal with a situation and choosing the right one in the right moment has been exceptional. And I mean, he hardly takes a wrong step through the course of games, in terms of the situations that apply. So I think he's just brought a lot of calm, consistency, stability for the guys around him. Sometimes because he recognized when a situation is a little bit dangerous, and he can take a little bit of steam out of that situation just with one decision, whether that's choosing to commit a foul, whether that's just dropping off and giving a little bit of time. Whatever that is, he tends to choose the right one 99% of the time, which is really just helps everybody else.
I'd also like to get your thoughts on LAFC's 3 midfielders, Sanchez, Cifuentes, and Costa, and how they've kind of transformed that team.
All very good at the roles that they fill. For me, Illy is one of the better 6s in our league. Just very smart about how he moves around the field, very cerebral about his positioning, his timing, his efficiency, defensively, good game reader, all those kinds of things. So I think there's a lot of clarity in the 3 of them as to what their roles are and how they can help. There's a great capacity to cover ground and work and have presence. They're all comfortable on the ball. None of them is really like a flashy attacking midfielder type, but all of them are very efficient, hardworking, and smart central midfielders who work hard together. They leave their playmaking to Vela or the guys on the wings a little bit more, and those guys just do a nice job of trying to control and dominate midfield as much as they can, both with and without the ball. So it's they fit together nicely.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on at least 3 times in the last game when you brought Cabral on. There were boos in the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's nonsense, to be honest. I get people's frustrations, but he's also one of our players, and he does bring something to the game, even though maybe he doesn't finish some of the chances that he should finish, and I get it that's got to a point where it's a little bit frustrating for people. But I would tell you 80% of those chances we don't get if he's not even on the field, just because of his sheer volume of running, the speed at which he runs, the capacity to get behind the back line, to work both defensively, offensively. He brings things to the game that I think sometimes are unsung for players. I think if he wasn't a DP, people would probably be not as harsh with him. He's a young player with high expectation because he wears the DP tag and for the LA Galaxy. But his work rate, again, his capacity to stretch the field, I assure you, scares other teams. They don't want to deal with the way he runs. For me, you never know when that one is going to get right. And right now in the playoffs, it just takes one. All right, it just takes one, and that could be the difference. And what I do know is you miss 100% of the chances you don't get to, which is sometimes what happens when Kevin isn't out there, and sometimes we just get more chances when he's on the field because of his work rate, his running, his speed, his timing, things like that. So especially when there's transition space to be had. So I think it's unfortunate. I think I get the frustration from people, but at the end of the day, he's one of our players. He does bring something to the game for us, and he can make a difference inside of the game. And I think last time we played here against LAFC, he scored a very nice goal, getting behind the back line. So again, you don't know. He's one that he's always going to get chances, and at some point they're gonna go.
Has he had to deal with confidence issues at all?
Yeah, I'm sure. You know, he's very quiet about everything that goes on. It's like, you know, in a way, it's like he doesn't really want to talk about it. I think his hope is that the next one will go in and he'll start to build some credibility and all that kind of stuff. So it's not something that he tends to really talk about or focus. He continues to just work on the training field and keep working for his moments. The hard part is I know, you know, our fans and everybody else who give him a hard time don't help him in the moment, you know, because he's still a human being, and when you get to that final moment, all of that stuff that's been going through your head goes through your head at exactly the wrong time, right? And so for me, you know, we've talked. I just want him to know that, you know, we believe in him, his teammates believe in him, and he needs to just keep doing what he's doing and be confident in the final moment, be aggressive, and when one of these goes in and it's the difference and it puts us into the next round of the playoffs, then I think he'll have his own say for that moment. So,
all right,
thank you.